welcome back to the channel. We are back with our girl chats this week. It has turned horribly cold, so we've got a hot drink with us today to keep us warm. I'm gonna waste no time and get stuck straight into your dilemmas. I did actually post the story this morning and we've already had so many through, so I'm just gonna start with what we have, and if I end up missing any that come through during the day, definitely stay tuned for the next video, because I'll try and incorporate the ones that I missed in this one in the next one. Okay, so the first one says, I am kind of lacking motivation to start something. I have so many business ideas, but I don't know how to start or maybe combine everything into one. I'm currently struggling with this. I know the struggle of trying to figure out like what path to take, especially when you don't really know what option is going to lead you to like what you actually want to be doing, or if you're in a career and you're just wanting to trial other things that you're interested in, but you've got loads of different things and ideas that you could potentially do. It's really hard to kind of take your chance on one. So I would first of all take the pressure off yourself to kind of get things right the first try, because I think when you have all these ideas swimming around your head, the first thought that pops into your head is, I don't want to waste my time trying all these different things, and I don't want to waste any time trialing an idea that's then going to lead to failure or not do as well as I hoped, or maybe I won't enjoy it as much. Those are the thoughts that then stop you from actually going ahead and just trialing something. Just experiment with the top idea that you've had maybe for the longest time. Maybe your very first idea that you've had that you still feel like is something that you want to pursue or something that you're interested in. Try with that one first, or try with something that you think is the most manageable alongside everything that you've already got on your plate. Just start with one idea. I feel like the more time that you leave to gather these additional ideas and things that you're just not even starting on, the more you're going to feel overwhelmed by all these things that you have that are potentials. So the best thing is to just figure out a way that you're going to choose one to focus on to begin with, and figure out how you're going to just trial it, see how it goes. Don't put pressure on it to succeed and be the best business in the whole world. And you don't know if this is something that you will do long term. You've got to pick one and start with it. Don't just keep racking up these ideas in your head and not starting with anything, because that's the worst position to be in, because you're just going to feel like that what if question is going to keep coming up for you. So as long as you start with one, the quicker you're going to realize that, oh, this is actually what I really want to pursue and what I think I can make into a really great business. That could be the first realization you have. Or the second realization you have is, actually, this isn't what I expected. This is not what I had in mind, and this is not what I want to be doing. But at least you have that clarity, so then you can park that and move on to the next idea, rather than still being in that same place of, oh, well, I have this idea, I don't know how it's going to go, but I also have this other idea and I don't know how that's going to go. I think with business as well, people forget you learn as you go. Unless you have maybe family members or a lot of experience, like prior experience in business, you're not going to know exactly what to expect. You're not going to have all the answers up front, is what I'm trying to say. So don't expect yourself to, and don't expect yourself to not come into any kind of challenges or obstacles along the way. That's part and parcel of trying something new. You're always going to have new things that you have to kind of tackle and deal with. So bear that in mind as well. Just because you come across obstacles, or maybe you come across things that you don't know how to deal with, that doesn't mean that you failed, and that doesn't mean that it was a bad idea to begin with. That's just a sign that you are actually taking action, and you're getting the thing done. And it's a learning opportunity as well. So even if this first business that you tried doesn't work out, you'll learn a lot of lessons that you can apply to the next idea that you kind of try and figure out. So I hope that helps, but please, I beg you to just try one of your ideas. Please don't let yourself leave them in your notes. Later on, when you're older, you'll just keep thinking back to, oh, what if I started that? Or what if I just took a chance on myself? And what if I just didn't worry so much in the beginning? Where would I be? Don't let yourself get to that position. I couldn't imagine anything worse, to be honest. Okay, so the next dilemma we've got, it says, I have 3.5k on a credit card. I live alone. I have hardly any savings. I'm putting pressure on myself to pay it and try and save, and it's not viable. My own credit score is fine. I don't have a car on finance, but one day I might. And worry how I will afford everything with paying this credit off. I just worry about it so much and feel guilty for going on holidays because of it. Okay, getting yourself into a bit of debt or putting money on a credit card that you then can't afford to pay off is a very stressful situation to be in. Even though you're kind of past the point of this, for anyone watching this video in general and thinking about getting a credit card or thinking about borrowing money, I would always use as a general rule, if you can't actually afford to pay for that thing with your own money currently, don't put it on a credit card. Please just don't, because it's not worth the stress of later racking up interest, having debt attached to your name, and having this thing lingering over your head that you then have to eventually resolve. But you almost feel like the longer time passes, the less close you are to actually resolving it, because interest racks up, you find other expenses that you have to deal with, like life happens. So if you're not initially in a place where you can afford that thing. Now, I'm talking about things that are non-essentials. Like if you're struggling to pay for food, for example, and that's what you're using the credit for, that's kind of a different story. I mean, if you're using your credit card to survive, that's very different to maybe paying for a holiday or an outfit for a special occasion, or these extra things that you feel like you need to keep on top of your lifestyle and the people that you're around, or things like that. I feel like those tend to be the kind of things that people typically put on credit cards, like those extra expenses. And I'm just here to say, please do not do that unless it's actually something that you have the money already to pay for. Because the way I personally use my credit card is I could very much dip into my savings or dip into my actual current account to pay for the things that I put on my credit card. The only reason that I would put it on my credit card first is to rack up the points, to get the benefits of using a credit card. It's not because I actually cannot pay for that thing, and I wouldn't buy something that I knew at the end of the month when my statement is due and when I have to pay that bill off, I actually wouldn't have the money for it, because that's just getting yourself stuck in a situation where you're going to carry on having to borrow money because you've already put yourself in a position where you're borrowing for things that you can't actually afford. Try to avoid getting yourself in that situation from the start. But now that you're in that situation and you have $3,500 on your credit card, you did mention going on holidays and potentially getting a car on finance. I think things like that, getting a car on finance, for instance, or any kind of recurring additional cost, are things to absolutely avoid until you've paid off your card. There are two ways that you can look at trying to tackle debt and money that you need to pay off, and in general, just being able to afford life more than you already can at the moment. So if you're struggling to save up money, if you don't have an emergency fund, if you feel like your expenses are higher than what you can afford and your income level, there are two things that you need to check in on in terms of your finances. The first one is your expenses themselves. You need to be tracking your expenses and what is going out every single month, and you need to split your expenses into fixed expenses and the things that you have to pay on month, your bills, your rent, your food, anything associated with living costs, things that you absolutely have to pay month on month. Usually things like your household bills come into that equation. Then you want to have a look at all other expenses. So these aren't fixed costs. These things maybe can vary month on month. Maybe it's money that you've allocated to going shopping for clothes, for gifts for people, for occasions, for spending time with friends, for going out for meals, for holidays, all the extra additional nice to have things. You need to separate those costs into a separate column. Even gym. I feel like a lot of people might consider gym as an essential, but I think when you're in a difficult situation where you really have to narrow down, okay, I am in debt basically, and I really need to be careful with the expenses that I've got on my head, and I really want to, clear this debt down, and I want to be able to start actually saving money. Things like gyms are a luxury. They're a nice to have in that situation, and there are alternatives. You could do home workouts for the meantime while you're trying to save that extra bit of money. So really think carefully about what you're putting in your fixed expenses and what you're putting in your kind of nice to have and other expenses list. Then you really want to analyze and be very brutally honest with yourself if you can cut down, at least for the next few months, 3 to 6 months, if you can cut down on those other expenses that you have. Because your fixed expenses are fixed. There's nothing that you can do about those. If you've got rent to pay every month, if you've got water bills, tax bills, whatever else, there's nothing you can really do about the amount on those. So you're going to have to start looking at your other expenses. And you mentioned holidays in your dilemma. So things like that, they're nice to have. Obviously, we all need a break sometimes, but there are inexpensive ways to kind of take care of yourself, to take a mental break from work, to give yourself time off and rest, because we all need rest, but that doesn't necessarily mean going abroad or going on lavish holidays. So if you have a schedule with your friends that maybe you go and eat out together every single week, or you plan an activity together, or you just do something on a regular basis that you have booked in the diary that costs a bit of money, maybe you go on a night out every Friday or whatever it is, and you have to buy new clothes for that. You're maybe having to get your nails and your makeup done, or get your hair done, or there's extra costs involved. Or maybe you're the type of person that gets their hair coloured regularly and that costs a couple £100 every month. Or maybe you're someone that gets lash extensions done. All these things that you really don't need, but you're kind of putting money towards because you feel like that's part and parcel of your lifestyle. These things you just genuinely need to have a really good hard look at. And I'm not saying that these are going to mean that like your debt is going to instantly vanish. I'm not saying that, but it's a start. And I feel like you have to start somewhere when you are in this position. So look at these little things, see where you can cut down. And it's not a cut down forever. It's just a cut down until you have that pot set aside and a security for yourself. And also you've cleared down your debt, because there is no point living this lifestyle and appearing that, oh, this girl's really put together, you know, she gets her hair done every month and she always has fresh lashes and she goes on these really nice holidays. But you are miserable inside and you're stressed and you're overwhelmed because you know that there's a credit card bill racking up that you don't have control over. So please get out of the mindset that you have to keep up appearances and you have to, you know, do all these things because maybe other people in your life are doing them, or you feel the pressure to look a certain way or act a certain way depending on the circle that you're in. These things really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. They really don't. The best thing you can do for yourself is focus on getting yourself financially healthy, and the way you can do that is cutting out these unnecessary costs that you've kind of built habits around paying for, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. What are your financial habits? It might not even be things that you're consciously aware of that is actually taking up a lot of your money that you could be saving or could be using to pay back your debts. It's just part of your lifestyle, so you probably don't even think twice about it, which is why tracking your expenses is really important. So have a really hard look at your expenses and what you can cut down on. And like I said, it's a temporary cut down. It's not something forever. It's just until you get back into a place where you're not owing any money and you actually are able to save money as well. And all those little bits that you're saving and cutting down on, you can bulk that money together and put into an emergency fund. And it might start off really small. Maybe it's an extra 10 quid here, 20 quid there, but that amount will snowball over time. If you give it a few months, you'll realize that it's really doable to actually save a nice fund that you can actually draw from whenever you want to do nice things later down the line, and you can budget for them then properly without having to pay for it on a credit card. Okay, now the second side of things that you really need to assess is, can I increase my income? We all tend to look at expenses first. Oh, I pay for this and I pay for that. How can I cut down on that? How can I reduce my expenses? And that's obviously the first place that I wanted to start, because that is generally what we look at first. But we all kind of forget the second part, which is being able to actually increase your income. Is there any way that you can increase your income? And I think this is possible for everyone. There is always a way that you can increase your income in even the smallest amount. Even if it's an extra £100 a month, maybe your 9 to 5 isn't that demanding and you can start doing something on the side. Maybe it's a tutoring job or something that you have a skill in. Maybe it's a side hustle online. Maybe it's freelancing in some way. Maybe there is something that you can do on the side. Maybe it's babysitting, maybe it's dog sitting, maybe it's something that you can help a family friend out with and they're going to give you a bit of extra cash. Whatever it is that you have time for on the side, think about little bits of income, especially in this period of time where your focus is, I want to pay off my debt and I want to build a savings pot. Every little helps. So even that extra £50 a month, £100 a month, you're not used to actually having that extra money right now. So you're just living probably just within your means because you're not really saving much money. So that extra money can go straight into a savings pot. That extra money can go straight towards your debt, and it's probably not going to impact your everyday life because it's not money that you're even used to having. So always think of ways you can grow your income. Some ways take longer than others. So if it's something that you really want to start very quickly, you're going to have to look at ideas and ways and maybe look to friends and family for support in terms of like, what do they need help with? What are skills that you have already, or skills that you can learn pretty quickly, or things that you're kind of already good at but you maybe just need to brush up on those skills to be able to offer a service you can then charge people for. It's always worth tapping into those extra like hidden skills that you maybe don't take advantage of in your day-to-day job and actually monetize them outside of work. And that way you'll be earning a little bit of more money. You'll then be able to pay down a bit more of your debts and increase your savings pot, and then it won't matter so much what you're spending your money on, and you can continue to spending the money you do for your other expenses without it having a bad effect on the rest of your finances. That was a really long-winded answer, but I really hope it helped. I think finances, your personal finances in particular, is such an important thing to get a hold of, especially in your 20s when you've just got probably your first full-time job and you know you're in the working world and you're trying to manage money yourself for the first time, and but you're also trying to keep up with friends, and it's a time to be social, it's a time to have fun. You know, you're young, you're in your 20s and you want to explore the world, you want to go on holidays, you want to do nice things. It's so understandable, but at the same time you can't be doing that stuff to the detriment of your financial health. So it's all about finding a balance, and it's all about finding ways for you to cut down on what's not necessary that you're spending on, but also increase your income. There's always ways to increase your income, and I wish more people recognize that. Let's move on to our next. This one says, leaving a relationship you have no way of leaving. Okay, so the only reason I could think of that someone couldn't really leave a relationship that they wanted to leave is if they were financially dependent on the other person and they couldn't maybe afford to move out of the home, they couldn't afford to stand on their own 2 feet. So if you are financially dependent on your significant other and you want to leave them, the first step is building up your personal finances and becoming financially independent from that person. I think that is a key thing that you should remain within any relationship. So whether you're happily married or not, or whether you're seeing someone or not, always, as a woman especially, I think you are a woman, yeah, or anyone for that matter, men, obviously it goes without saying, have your own bag. Don't be relying on a woman, please. Don't be doing that, don't be expecting that. But as a woman, also don't do that. Don't rely on someone else to the point where you have nothing of your own to fall back on, or even if it's like a savings pot that you've put in a high interest account that's kind of making money on itself and it's there whenever you need it. Even if it's something like that, I can understand if maybe you're a mother and you have children that you're raising, and that's why maybe you're not working and that's why you depend on a husband or a partner more, and that's why financially you're not independent. But even still, there are ways that you can protect yourself financially, and there are ways that you can get yourself out of situations if you have that financial independence. You always have to have in the back of your mind, no matter what, I have to have my own back, because that's the way that you are able to leave situations. And it doesn't even have to be a dangerous situation. It doesn't even have to be a situation where things are the most dramatic and worst they could be. It could be a simple case of, I'm not happy, I feel like I deserve better, and I want out. But you can't get out if you don't have the means to. You didn't really give me the reasons for why you literally can't leave, but I'm going to assume it's financial. And by assuming that, all I'm going to say is find a way to build up a savings pot. Even if you physically can't work, maybe you've got health problems, maybe you've got kids, maybe there are a million and one reasons why you actually can't physically go out and get a job yourself and start earning your own money. If there is people in your life that can support you financially or start to support you, maybe you can do little favors for people here and there and they can give you a bit of money for that. It's hard to advise in situations like this when I have literally no context. I have no idea of the situation. I'm just taking a stab in the dark at what could possibly be the scenario. But if any of that sounds familiar and that sounds like kind of the situation you're in, then please make steps towards actually growing your own financial independence in whatever way you can, whether that's through the support of family and friends, whether that's through your partner directly, because if they're the direct reason why you can't earn and maybe you've given up your career in this family scenario, then you're more than entitled to ask for money in that situation. That's my personal opinion anyway. So with that being said, please figure out your financial situation for yourself. Maybe if you have close family members you can talk to, maybe hatch a plan with them together on how you're going to just grow your own financial pot. And you don't have to tell people, oh, it's because I want to leave, it's because I'm trying to leave the relationship and escape. You don't even have to tell people that's the reason. You could just wake up one day and think, do you know what? I need to have my own back and I just want to feel like I can depend on myself a bit more, and that could be the reason you give people. You don't have to tell people your full plans and the reasons why you want to do it. Even if you're in a happy relationship, even if you don't want to leave, it's more than okay for you to have in mind, okay, I want to be able to financially depend on myself to an extent, given my situation and how much I can maybe go out and work or whatever the circumstances are. Okay, the last dilemma that we'll go through then, because I've been yapping for a really long time. This one says, been married for over a year. Any advice on communication with partner, fighting over little things? Oh, I feel like this is so universally relatable. I think depending on how long you've known your partner and like how your relationship has progressed, I think when you get to past the year mark, you do become very comfortable with each other. I feel like you become more comfortable with expressing how you feel. Maybe in the first few months of being married, it's in that still like honeymoon phase of like, oh, you just feel like everything's perfect and you don't really have any qualms. You don't really notice anything like getting on your nerves maybe, but past the year mark you start to feel like, oh, I can raise this with you, like you're ticking me off and I feel comfortable enough with you in this relationship to raise things with you. And I think that's a really nice transition actually, because with anything, like no matter who the relationship is with, there will always be things that come up that people maybe do that irk you or you didn't quite agree with. And when it comes to your husband and the person that you are like this with 24/7 and you live with and you have to deal with every situation of life, you kind of have to deal with together or at least loop each other in on what's going on, there's always going to be an opportunity to disagree on something. You're two completely different people as well, don't forget that. I feel like we forget that when we partner with someone in a marriage, we have come from completely different backgrounds a lot of the time, different experiences in life. We've grown up in different ways. We come from maybe even different communities. There is so much difference, but obviously there's enough similarities to draw us together and what you want to be with that person. But we kind of overlook the differences, and the differences we don't notice because we weren't there to witness it. We weren't there to witness their upbringing a lot of the time. We weren't there to witness all these things that they may have gone through before they even met you. So with that being said, take the disagreements and fighting over little things as a sign that you're growing comfortable with each other enough to be okay with disagreeing with each other. But also, I guess there's a level within that, is like not to take it too far to the point where you're getting into really bad arguments or you're letting things drag out or you're dealing with it in an unhealthy way. So the way personally I feel like is best to deal with like disagreements and stuff is firstly to actually not even deal with them when you're in a heightened emotional state. I've learned this the hard way, so I'm telling you now, if something is really getting on your nerves, do not try and discuss it when you're in the height of being frustrated at that thing, because you're actually going to overinflate the issue. It's going to be worse in your head because you're just annoyed in that moment, but it's also going to create an argument bigger than it actually needs to be for that thing, especially if you're fighting over little things. My kind of communication style, coupled with dealing with PMDD all the years that I've dealt with it, really didn't bode well with kind of communicating during arguments and that whole side of things, and I really had to learn about processing my emotions and actually recognizing the reason I was angry for things. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and there's a lot of reasons why we react to things in the way that we do, and I feel like the worst time to actually try and communicate that is when you are really emotional. Just don't even react in the moment, and give yourself a chance to process how you're feeling and understand why you're feeling that way. Like, why are little things annoying you? Is it because it's a repeated thing that you feel like shouldn't be happening? Is it because you expect something that you haven't really communicated and there's a miscommunication there? Like, there's always a reason why you're feeling that knee-jerk reaction to like attack about a little thing, and it sometimes come from something completely unrelated as well. So I'd always check in with yourself, and I feel like self-awareness is really key when it comes to just dealing with things within your personal relationships. A lot of it comes down to that. It actually comes down to the reason we react to things and the reason that we feel a certain type of way about what our partner's doing, for example. Sometimes doesn't even stem from the actual act that they did. It stems from, this is actually triggering me because it reminds me of someone else treated me or misunderstood me, and I feel like they're deliberately trying to do something to hurt me, type of thing. A lot of the times there's other triggers at play, and that's what causes these like little things to turn into big arguments, which becomes so unnecessary. I would say have that self-awareness and check in with yourself. Every time you're angry at something, think about why you're actually annoyed at it in the first place. Is it a simple thing as like because you expect them maybe to clean up after themselves and they're not doing it, and why would they not do that, and you were taught to do that in your household, and that's just an expectation and basic respect that people should know. And just have a look at what are the mental, like what's the thought process in your own head as to why this thing's annoying you. And by doing that, you can also understand yourself better and what your irritations are to be able to communicate it better to that person. Second thing, utilize ChatGPT. I'm not even joking you. The amount of times I have not been able to find the words in a non-aggressive way to communicate how I'm feeling. Sometimes we're just not built that way. We're not built, like, I've grown up in a very masculine energied way to the point where if I disagree with something or if I'm annoyed at something, I will be aggressive about it. I find it hard to kind of collect myself and just peacefully talk about it or do it in a feminine way. But when you're in a relationship, that's almost the foolproof way to getting what you want without it causing a big deal. So I've really had to learn like new phrases or new ways to approach situations to get what I want and get a resolution out of the issue without it turning into a fight and turning into this big deal. Especially on the little things. We're talking about the little things here, which are just never need to become a big deal, but we just make them a big deal because of our own reactions and responses to things and the way we communicate things. What you can say to ChatGPT is, look, I've got this issue with my partner. I feel like they're not listening to me, or they're not respecting me, or this is the little issue that we're going through, and it gets snowballed into a bigger issue. How can I word how I'm feeling in a way that they are going to understand, like, this is a serious issue for me, without me getting overly emotional about it? Prompt ChatGPT to phrase specific phrases for you to actually use in conversations, and the more you do that and kind of get a new perspective on how you can actually say the same thing in maybe a nicer tone and a nicer way, then you'll kind of start to realize the difference between how you should approach things and how you've been approaching things. That's really helped me in general anyway. But also just understand that miscommunication or not being able to communicate that well sometimes is totally normal, especially if it's your first relationship, you've never been with someone before, or you've grown up witnessing unhealthy communication styles, or if you've experienced all of that growing up, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to kind of get to grips with how to be healthy in a relationship and communicate in a healthy way. So don't be too hard on yourself, but just acknowledge that as much as they're annoying you, you have a lot of work to do as well on your side to make the whole experience of communicating things to each other a whole lot better, and to be able to just get through those like difficult times with each other without things escalating. Anyways guys, I'm gonna leave that there. I really hope that was helpful. I know I did waffle for quite a few of those dilemmas there, so we didn't get through that many, but I will definitely be back next month for another girl chats. I'm gonna leave it there guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys. Mwah.